Okay, you got it? Okay. We'll call the meeting to order and have roll call.
Board Member Van Du Molen,
Here.
Board Member Galt,
Here.
Board Member Davlin,
Present.
Board Member Lindberg,
I am here.
and Board Member Nash.
Here.
Thank you.
Okay, next item, we'll consider approval of the minutes.
I'll move to approve the minutes.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Been moved and second to approve the minutes. Any other comments? Call for the question. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, nay. Motion passes. So let's move on to old business. Do we have any old business items? Okay, doesn't appear to be any old business items, so we'll move on to the next agenda item, which is new business. So, does anybody have new business items to bring up?
I don't believe so.
I was concerned about one thing. I know in this, I'll bring that up, I'm not sure it affects this directly, but indirectly it will. That new federal bill eliminated the tax write-downs for solar.
Yeah, I put that in my director report. I'll address what
Oh.
I know, which
Okay.
is, not
Yeah,
everything. But
there's a lot of changes that are going to affect development, investment patterns here moving forward the next couple of years. So, okay, any other new business items? Hearing none, we'll move forward to next item, reports and communications. So do we have any reports or communications?
yeah, I have the mid-year. If Derek's gonna.
Okay.
Okay. So this year so far, we're at 637 permits issued. 448 are over the counter. We have 38 solar permits so far this year, which I suspect we're going to see start dropping off in the near term, probably after the end of the year. Ken emailed me a question about the kind of what the current state of solar is. With the big beautiful bill, they have ended the federal tax credit, which was, I think, up to 30% of the cost of installation. And the state killed their tax tax rebates, I think, the end of last year. So right now, the only thing that'll be left after the end of this year will be there's a $50 property tax exclusion, which I don't even know what that means. If that means that they don't include like up to a certain amount in like a reassessment value for the solar, or if it's an actual, like you can make some kind of deduction. It wasn't clear to me how that worked. But there's still programs for disadvantaged communities, which they define as the bottom 25% of the most disadvantaged communities in the state. And those will have their solar costs covered. How that actually works, I have no idea. I imagine it's got to be maybe Section 8 housing stuff in multifamily developments where a developer would get reimbursed for installing. This one wasn't clear either. I don't know how. There was no clear instruction on how to even apply for that program from what I could find.
Oh my.
And then on top of all of this, PG&E lowered their net metering rates down to about a third of what it was in the beginning, redefined how they class or what they call net metering. So it's not if you feed 10 kilowatt hours during the day and you use it at night, you don't break even, because they also apply time of use as it goes back in, or when you're feeding into the grid, you're feeding in during off-peak hours, and then most of the time, and then when you're using, it's during peak hours. So you can use the same amount you feed in and still end up will still end up owing them money. And the way around this, if you can make it economically feasible is to install battery storage. And then if you have battery storage, you can use that during the evening to offset and not be buying energy from PG&E, which I had heard in the upcoming residential code, they were going to add some battery storage. And then the state froze the building code as of, I believe, October of this year for the next 3 years. So there will be no update to the residential code. So there is no longer any state pressure or code-wise guidance marching us toward any kind of sensical future with the use of solar. This has all kind of been a little perplexing. I'm glad you actually pointed this out, Ken, because I hadn't been following it that closely. But it would appear that we're no longer incentivizing solar or trying to push people that way with the code. And in fact, the current state after the first of the year will be that solar probably isn't going to make economic sense, which is an interesting development at this point.
But it's still required by the code.
To install the panels, yes.
Yeah.
The energy report and the energy code require a certain amount of solar, and the amount the code tells you to put on new construction isn't a whole lot. Like it's actually kind of so low. It's strange. Yeah, it's a normal, like, so for your typical like 1,800 square foot house, it'll be somewhere like 2.5 kilowatt hours worth of solar, which, I mean, that's not a lot at all. It's usually like about 8 panels, somewhere around there, 6 to 8. And on smaller ADUs, if it's a detached ADU, they're even smaller. They're like 1.6 kW systems, which, I mean, that's a drop in the bucket. I don't know. I don't know where all this is headed. It seems like something's up, but I guess we'll just have to stay tuned.
You'd think the industry would have responded to that in some way.
I think the money's already been pulled out of it. I mean, so when I started here, there was a huge rush of people that were from out of the area, a lot of like bigger solar companies that were canvassing neighborhoods, selling solar packages, signing people up for, like, you know, sales contracts where you have 20 years to pay it off. We'll install it, and then the power, somehow they worked their way into the deal with PG&E. And there was, I wish I would have I didn't look and see, but I mean, I bet we were doing, it was hundreds of solar permits a year. Mm-hmm. And now we're at 38. I haven't seen all those bigger companies. A lot of them were problems, to be perfectly honest. And I haven't seen any of them around probably for a year and a half. And we've definitely seen the number of solar permits drop off considerably.
Wow.
And part of that, I'm sure, is PG&E and the state changing the rates, because if it doesn't pencil, I mean, that's it. No one's going to do it.
Well, yeah, it's not a clear picture of what makes economic sense or environmental sense anymore.
Yeah, and if we're going to push people that into solar, the way to make it make sense is with battery storage, and it seems like we're not leaning on that at all. So I don't know. I guess we'll see after they unfreeze the code in another 3.5 years if they add some of that back in. But I'm sure there's pressure from the energy companies,
Yeah.
from Edison and PG&E, to just make this whole thing blow up, I would imagine.
Well, it will if it moves sideways with no resolution.
Yeah, I think that's currently our trajectory, but we'll see.
Yeah.
So moving on to more permit stuff. So we've done 7 ADU permits so far this year. 2 new single family dwellings, one down on E Street, kind of in the Greenaway Gulch area at the end of E. and then one, the house on, I think it's Highland, is being torn down and then rebuilt by the tribe. We've seen 7 multifamily residential projects. So if you look at our permitting average, in 2002 we were doing around 82 permits a month. 2023, 102 permits a month. 2024, about 92, and this year we're pretty much holding steady with last year's average. We're at 91 a month, which is higher than, 2002 was kind of like the average year where we were doing about 1,000 permits a year, and we're on track to be above that. So we're still, it seems like we're slowing down. At least that's the way it feels in the building department. But permits wise, we're actually kind of ahead of the trend, the old trend.
Okay.
We have some pretty significant building projects that are now under construction. Link Housing has 3 sites. They're all like around $5 million in valuation, and they're the parking lot apartment complexes that everybody's heard about that are controversial. And then Will Adams is doing another building on 3rd and G. There's a juvenile facility that's going into the old, it was, I think, an old office building. It's the one that has the shake roof. If you're going out Samoa Boulevard, just on your way out of town on the right hand side, it had like the weird, like a 22 and 12, almost a wall of shingles on the second floor. It's been the paint place. There you go. Yeah, it's been sitting there for a long time, vacant. They're rehabbing that.
Is the house adjacent to that part of that project also?
Yeah, so the tribe bought both lots, and then they got.
It looked like they were putting a new foundation under it.
They were updating. I don't think they were putting a foundation under it. It was kind of a funky setup. They were it's some kind of youth housing program, and they had to retrofit that old Victorian to try to make it compliant with Chapter 11B in the building code, because it was a federally funded program, and trying to apply 11B to a residential structure was a tricky thing. So they had to do a bunch of bizarre upgrades to that building, and then they're building an ADU in the back. That's part of that project. And then next door they're doing, I think it was less than, it's an R2.2. It's like a temporary housing facility for juveniles that are emancipated. And I don't remember exactly how many people and rooms were in it, but there was I think that was another $5 million valuation. It's a pretty significant project. And then they were having trouble with funding. This one kind of has been bouncing around for a few years, and I think they're finally at the finish line.
Do you know what they're doing with the old shop building at the back of where Dinsmore used to do all the sandblasting and that kind of stuff? I'm
not sure. I think somebody has like crab pots and stuff in it. I saw the door was open the other day. I'm not sure. I haven't seen anything on that. Habit Burger, I don't know if anybody heard, there were rumors that they were pulling out of town, and now apparently they're back. They just turned in some new stuff, and they should be resuming construction here shortly. And then our housing complex down for the previously unhoused people that were living out in the trail area by our sewer treatment plant is now open. There are, I believe, 36 beds there. We call it Crowley. It was an old boat. They used to make boats there. And now it's a residential facility, and we're just about done. We're waiting for the handrails to be constructed. That was the last piece of the puzzle. Then I have some pictures. This is the Sunny and Myrtle Link project, which I'm sure if you've driven down Myrtle, you've seen it's a whole mess out there. They're all three of these link housing projects are kind of at the same stage. They're doing the foundations and elevator pits, and there's some pretty substantial stuff going on in these foundations. They've been interesting. This is 6th and M right behind us here. And then 8th and G.
Yeah.
Of course not.
We can't hear you.
Oh, sorry.
Pull your mic closer.
Yeah, he asked about if there's any parking included with any of these projects, and the answer is of course not. The state, it's not part of what the state requires, and the state's requirements supersede local. So the answer is, and this was part of the controversy with these projects, is that they're taking parking spots and then offering nothing in return except for more cars. How this all shakes out, I'm sure we all know, but I guess we'll just wait until it happens.
Yeah.
Will Adams is building down on 3rd and G. They're up at they're starting the 3rd floor now. Hopefully they'll get that one covered up before it starts raining. They seem like it's been kind of a
Housing in there or just
It's
office?
3. Yeah, the top 3 floors are residential, and then the first floor is commercial.
Top 3 floors?
Yeah, it's a 4-story.
4-story wood construction, huh?
Yeah,
Interesting.
that's as high as you can go. And actually I have one coming which is going to be 5 stories, and they're going to do the podium construction down below. But we're starting. This is kind of new for Eureka, that we're going all the way to our maximum with the light frame construction.
No parking there either.
Of course not.
Of course.
Yeah. Well, the main problem is, like, you could put parking underneath stuff, but we're on sand, which means that you're driving pile, and then the cost of the construction to do that is insane. And so no one's going to do it until they're forced to, and there's no one forcing anybody to do it. So that's where we are, the practical reality.
Wow.
This is they're re-roofing the youth facility over there that used to be the paint store without a permit. I've talked to him and told him to slow down, not to cover anything up. Habit Burger, like I said, hopefully they'll be resuming activities there and opening up.
Excuse me, what was the holdup?
I have no idea. This whole project, so the Starbucks and the Habit Burger, from the beginning of this, has all been strange. Things would come in and change. There were disputes between the people that were buying the property and the previous owner, and then there were problems between the lending company and the contractor and getting the contract settled, and it's just been one thing after another for the last 3 years. So I'm not sure. I'm not privy to what exactly was going on, but from what I'm told, it's back on now.
Is the building complete except for
The shell is
kitchen appliances and that sort of thing?
the shell's mostly complete. This is the other thing that was this is a sidebar that's kind of annoying, is that the the contractor's contract with the company limited their scope to less than what would be considered the shell permit. And so we had to kind of approve, in order to allow them to, like, get their draw and get out of there, we had to kind of approve a shell that's not done. And now we're going to have to they're going to be going backward once they get started again to finish up. Like, they didn't put in the EV charging, but they paved the parking lot. I'm not sure how this is going to work in reverse, but I told them, I tried, I don't know. But we'll see what happens going forward.
Excuse me,
So
backing up to your previous comment about the Yurok tribe re-roofing the Dinsmore thing without a permit, that's not really playing well with the city on.
Well, so I told them they could have a demo permit because they were having trouble finalizing funding stuff, and the contractor was going to have to walk. There was, everything's political. We try to get along as well as we can.
I see.
But the building permit has not been issued, and then they tore the roof off, and now they're sheathing the roof, and I don't have. I think I actually did finally get the final submittal, but I don't know, if the engineers, if there's anything that we need to look at with the roof sheet, they're just kind of they're passing me a little bit. which I'm actually going to call him today and tell him it's time
But
to slow
how
down.
will you go back and retro inspections on that? When I asked you the question about the Victorian structure that's next door, I'm pretty sure that they poured a perimeter foundation around that.
They may have done some of that. I haven't been inspecting it, so I'm not sure. And I don't remember. I haven't seen the plans in a year and a half. So
How, going forward, how will those inspections be handled then if the work, example like that where in the foundation, the work's covered up. You got
no, they have a permit for that site.
Oh, they did?
Yeah, that's a separate parcel.
Oh,
It's just the old paint store, the shingled building. That one, they're in the process of getting a permit. They just haven't
I see.
completed the process. So if they cover anything up and we got to go too far backward, then what you do is either get an engineer to certify the work, or they can tear things apart.
Yeah.
Neither of which are really satisfying for anybody. So that's why I'm going to call them and tell them to pump the brakes. But it happens. There's the architects, there's the money, and then there's the owners and contractors, and between the four of them and the building department, sometimes it's a juggling act.
Well, one of the purposes of this board is to help you out, to create some clarity as much as we can provide that, to assist you in that permit management process.
And then this is a picture of our Crowley site, which is it's a transitional housing facility. They're charging a small amount of rent to the people that live there, which then they save. And when I think people stay for a year, and then when they move out, they give them back the money that they had paid in rent, so that they have a deposit for the next place as they move on to more permanent housing.
This is the old Crowley Marine Terminal site where the
Yeah.
fire department has their training center now.
Yeah,
where there was
the fire
formerly-
department's that tower right behind it, and right
That was
next
the
door.
giant oil tanks that
Yeah.
Crowley kept filled for. Yeah.
Yeah, and then we got some grant money to build the facility. It was poorly planned. It was poorly laid out in pre-construction. A bunch of stuff happened in the wrong order, and then we struggled for the last year and a half to do everything and put it all back together. And Betty Chen's finally taken over. I think she has some kind of a long-term lease with the city, and then she administers the site and runs everything independent of us. And then we just get a call, if the sewer
Kind
pump
of-
breaks down.
Kind of ironic because back in the day, there was a mess of little mill housing, one bedroom, maybe.
Is that what was there back
600
when?
square foot little cabins or
I think there's still a couple
cottages
tucked in there.
down in there.
By
and
Hilfiger,
now
right?
we've
Maybe
gone ahead and built the same thing again.
there's a very active population back in the trees all around this area, and I'm sure anything that they can live in them, they're inside of. So they probably rebuilt. If there's any shacks back there still, I'm sure they're still functioning.
Have there been any incidents since that's been occupied?
Not that I know of. We have this tower that you can see in the back. It looks like lights right there where the arrow is. That's one of those lot cop camera monitor things, and that's been there. We're about to take it out of there, so once that leaves, we have some cameras that we put in, or that Betty's had put in on the site. So hopefully things remain under control. So far, everything's been okay, but I think we've only had people in there for maybe going on a month, so it's early on.
Planning also has a modification to the existing coastal development permit to change out the fence.
Oh yeah, the Rotary Club has provided some money. Whoop. I don't know what that means.
And then you muted.
Am I? No, I'm not muted. I don't know. The Rotary Club is donating some money to redo the fence in the front, so it's going to be like a black wrought iron fence, I think. So it looks a little nicer. It doesn't look quite so so much like a prison yard. And then so this project is coming up. I don't know how to pronounce it. I don't want to butcher it, but I think it translates to where the elders are. And there's a lot right behind us here. That's our city parking lot that they will be putting in this 5-story. At this point, I don't know if this is the final design, but it's close. And it'll be going into our parking lot. And this one we are going to be getting some parking out of. It's only going to be, I think, I want to say it's like 12 space. It's not a lot, but it's better than nothing. And it's for the city so that we can retain some of our parking for our fleet vehicles. And that'll be underneath. And then there'll be 4 floors of residential above that.
Nothing in the works on the parking lot out front, though, huh?
So I think Arkley owns that one.
Right.
And I haven't heard anything about what his plans are for it.
Wow.
And then down on the south end of town, up on the hill behind Pacific Motorsports, and kind of to the south of the cemetery there, we have a plot of land that we're going to start construction of our new corp yard. And I think they're trying to start this one. I feel like I heard this year before the rainy season to do some of the site work. So hopefully next year they'll be building this, and then we can kind of move out of our outdated facility that's down by Costco.
Is the access to that off Weiler Road, or
No, it's off. It's through that lower road at Pacific.
Ocean View Road?
Yeah, it goes up and around up the hill, and then I think the utilities come down Weiler. Like I think that's where they brought the sewer and water. But I don't believe anything. There might be there's a gate on that backside, so it could connect out over there. But I think the idea is to be coming in and out of Broadway.
So will there be a new stoplight at Broadway there?
I don't think so. I know they're putting a new stoplight in at Hillficker, but I don't think there's plans to put anything in there.
Interesting.
Wow.
And that's all I've got.
Any questions? Additional items? Okay, so is there any comment about or recommendation to accept the staff report?
I'll move to accept the staff report.
Okay, is there a second?
I would second that.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor of the motion signify by aye.
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 Opposed by nay. That motion passes. So we'll move on to the next item, I guess, oral comments. Any comments at all? Yes.
I have a couple just general information things. What's up with the used car lot at Kmart now?
So, there's a used car lot there?
Well, there's a motorhome, a big 4-wheel drive truck, and about 5 or 6 small SUV type vehicles there. Several with for sale signs on
Well,
them.
nothing. I don't know of anything that's supposed to be happening
Oh,
there
and a houseboat.
with regard to a house. That's good. I'm not. The answer that I have is I'm not sure. I guess I'll have to send code enforcement down there and see if they move.
Yeah, it's they completely fenced it. And it's just interesting watching the evolution of that.
Yeah. So right now there's a charter school that's looking at that property, and they're in the middle of deciding whether or not it's feasible to convert. They're changing the risk category of the building, so there's substantial engineering challenges whenever you do that, and they're going through the process and deciding whether or not to move forward. But hopefully they will, and then that facility should get rehabbed.
And then there was a rumor or a statement made that Hilton bought the block where Anglin was. Can you confirm that?
Hilton bought where?
Hilton, I don't know if it's the same owner as the Hilton.
Oh, you mean across the street there where the secondhand?
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I haven't heard anything about
From
that.
what I've read, they bought the whole block.
That wouldn't surprise me.
That's what Ken Anglin has told me, that Hilton did buy that whole
Yeah, I know that
whole corner, and they're gonna
we had
redevelop
like
it.
a weird. The city had a weird parcel in the middle of that area that they surplused recently, so that might be part of that whole sale.
So for planning on that property, we haven't heard anybody purchase it, but we are getting a lot of interest in, can I do this with it? Can I do this with it? So I know it's actively being looked at by different participants. And then the Kmart, is it in the grass area?
Yeah.
In the front?
Yeah.
Okay, so those are privately owned. That's not part of the Kmart. Those were two separate parcels.
Right, understood.
And Brendan, I may have information about who owns those now. I'll have to look.
Okay, well then I'll be up to talk to you, Matt, about that, I guess later.
Okay, that's all I've got.
Anything else? I do have one comment. I have a friend who's on the board of a company that produces flying cars, and he's pretty insistent they're coming sooner than we think. I guess the hang-up is still the federal regulations on what elevations do you fly at, but it could affect parking strategies quite a bit.
Well, we can do rooftop
I was
parking.
just gonna say rooftop
Pardon?
parking.
Be
Set
parking,
them to hover
Yeah.
while you're
you'd be
Oh,
parking everything on the top of buildings, I guess.
Right.
It certainly
That's
would
interesting.
eliminate on-ground parking. But it is interesting. And then I pay attention on some designs out of the area for self-driving cars, which are becoming more ubiquitous too. I don't know how they're going to affect our community. I guess we have a few of them around. Do we have any regs on self-driving cars?
I have no idea.
Oh,
Possibly.
hasn't been an issue. Okay.
I haven't heard of anything. I don't. That may be the planning. I don't even know who that would be. I guess that would be my department because it would be the.
Well,
This
it'd have to
parking?
do with traffic control and
Yeah, I'm not sure.
parking and I'm not sure what else.
I have heard nothing about it and had no discussion about it. So.
Yeah, I haven't received anything from the state about that either. So, okay, yes.
Any feedback on the Vero fiber that they've run is that online?
Just people complaining about easements they didn't know were in their front yard and why are these guys digging but other than that, I don't know. I'm sure Public Works has thoughts.
Yeah, just curious.
Okay. Any other comments? Okay, if there's no other oral comments,
take public
is-
comment. Maybe that was public.
do we have any public comments?
Anybody online?
Okay, then we'll call for adjournment.
So moved.
It's moved
Second.
and seconded that we adjourn. Any comments on that? All in favor signify by aye.
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 Opposed by nay. Motion passes. Thank you, everyone.
So when's our next meeting? Is that October?
This year?
Unless something comes up, yeah,
Unless there's
A real appeal, yeah.
a real appeal.
Okay.
That would be October.